Suppose I want to show that some polynomial g is irreducible over integers. Often I can try to do this by reducing g modulo some prime p. For example, when I reduce this degree 4 polynomial modulo 2, I get this polynomial again of degree 4. If the original polynomial factored non-trivially over the integers, then I can reduce this equation modulo 2 to get this one. Now, an integer polynomial can drop in degree when I reduce it modulo 2 if the leading coefficient is even. But that cannot happen over here because these polynomials have the same degree. So, after reducing modulo 2, the degrees of h1 and h2 still have to add up to 4 and so they cannot drop. Okay, so if I show that this polynomial is irreducible over f2, then the original polynomial cannot have factored and I would have succeeded in showing that it is irreducible over the integers and so also over rational numbers. So all we have to do is check that this polynomial is irreducible over f2. So please do that. G bar does not have a linear factor because it does not have a root in f2, as you can check by plugging in. The only other possibility is that it factors into two irreducible quadratics. But the only irreducible quadratic over f2 is x square plus x plus 1. So all I have to check is that this polynomial is not the square of that quadratic, and it isn't. So I am done. Now you should try to formulate this reasoning as a general principle. So try that now. I have written the general statement here with the exact same reasoning. The only thing to note is the hypothesis that the prime p should not divide the leading coefficient. This ensures that the degree does not drop when I go modulo p. Here is an example of what can go wrong without this condition. This polynomial factors over the integers, but if I go modulo 3, then the first factor just becomes a constant. So the polynomial becomes irreducible over f3 and the test does not work. This problem will not arise if g is a monic polynomial, because in that case I can go modulo any prime. But there is a more fundamental limitation. This test works very often but not always. For example, this special polynomial is irreducible over integers, but it factors modulo every single prime. You can try to prove both these statements as interesting exercises. I have written both statements here as exercises. There are several ways to think about this polynomial, and I have listed some of them over here. Our next tool is Eisenstein's criterion. It continues the theme of using reduction modulo p to prove irreducibility over z and therefore over q. We are given an integer polynomial f. Suppose I can find a prime p such that p does not divide the leading coefficient, p divides all the lower coefficients, but p square does not divide the constant term. Then the assertion is that f is irreducible over q. By the way, irreducibility over q and over z are equivalent if f is primitive, and I can arrange that by dividing by the GCD of coefficients. This makes no difference over q because the GCD is a unit, and over z it does not affect the hypothesis because p does not divide the GCD. But I can carry out the proof even without this, and it is by contradiction. So suppose that f factors over q. Now as before, I can clear denominators and use the Gauss lemma to get a non-trivial factoring over z. I have set up the notation for the factors g and h over here. Now that I have an equation over z, I can use reduction modulo p. See if you can complete the proof from here. The point is that after reduction mod p, f bar is just a single monomial of the same degree n as f. This is because of the first two conditions on the prime p. Now, over an integral domain, a monomial can only factor as a product of two monomials whose degrees have to add up to the original degree. This is because if either one of the factors had any term of lower degree, then the product of the two lowest terms would not cancel out and f bar would not be a monomial. Okay, this means that g bar and h bar, both the factors, are themselves monomials of positive degrees. But that just means that p divides the constant term of g and also of h. Therefore, p square divides the constant term of their product. But the product is f, and this violates the last condition on p. So, the proof is done. The exact same criterion is valid if I work over a UFD instead of Z, and then I get irreducibility over the fraction field. In fact, I can work over any domain. In that case, instead of a prime element, I take a prime ideal, and instead of divisibility by p, I consider containment in the prime ideal. If I start with a primitive polynomial f, that means that its coefficients do not have any non-unit factors in common. Then, under these conditions, I can deduce irreducibility of f by the exact same logic over d. I cannot pass to the fraction field in general because in absence of GCDs, I do not have the Gauss length. Okay, a standard application of this criterion is to see that x to the n minus 2 is irreducible over rationals. This test applies straight away by taking the prime to be 2. Now, you should ask for which integers a is the test applicable, and when the test is not applicable, try to write down some interesting counterexamples. The test works for x to the n minus a if I can find a suitable prime for the integer a. In particular, it works when a itself is a prime or even a square-free integer. Remember, we asserted irreducibility of polynomials of this kind more than once, but until now we were unable to prove it for exponents greater than 3. When this condition is not met, here is a counterexample. If I want to study polynomials of this type in general, then I need more field theory. For example, you can see Lang's book. In this third example, I again have a polynomial of the same kind, and here the test works. But the prime that I have taken, t, is in a polynomial ring over a field. In this last example, it may appear that there is no way to apply this criterion, but I have given a hint over here to shift the variable. See if you can use the hint and show that this polynomial is irreducible over rationals. The point of that hint is the following. Suppose I take a constant c in really any ring, and I extend the identity map on the base ring to the polynomial ring by sending x to x plus c. Now, this map is a ring isomorphism. For example, I can use the substitution principle again to construct the inverse, sending x to x minus c. Now, any ring theoretic property is preserved under ring isomorphisms. In particular, if g is an irreducible polynomial, then its image under this map, g of x plus c, will also be irreducible and vice versa. I will use this for the cyclotomic polynomial phi sub p of x. In its factored form over complex numbers, it is the product of x minus every primitive pth root of unity. That means I take all pth roots of unity and throw away the only one that is not primitive because p is a prime, and I get this integer polynomial. I claim that this polynomial is irreducible over Q. Now, as it stands, Eisenstein is not applicable because every coefficient is just 1. However, I will simply shift this polynomial by 1, and now you should check that Eisenstein's criterion does become applicable. I plug in x plus 1 into this expression and then use the binomial theorem. The minus 1 in the numerator and in the denominator both cancel out, giving me this expression. Now x in the denominator also cancels out, and I get this monic polynomial with the constant term p. Because p is prime, every binomial coefficient in these middle terms is divisible by p, because p in the numerator cannot cancel with any of the factorials in the denominator. Therefore, Eisenstein's criterion is applicable and I am done. Actually, there is a cyclotomic polynomial phi sub n for every positive integer n, and I just imitate the earlier definition. I take the product of x minus every primitive nth root of unity in complex numbers. Now, all nth roots of unity form a cyclic group. Here I am taking the product only over the generators of this group. If I take the product over all nth roots of unity, then I get x to the n minus 1. So, if I want to get back phi sub n, then I have to divide out by some factors. Now, you should work out this next part carefully. The factors that I need to divide by are precisely phi sub d, where d is a proper divisor of n. This is because every nth root of unity is a primitive dth root of unity for a divisor d of n and vice versa. Pause if necessary and understand this carefully. Working this out in these small examples may help. Okay, now I am ready to state two results. On the face of it, this polynomial may look like it has only complex coefficients, but actually it is an integer polynomial. You might think that this expression along with induction does the job, and you are right, but there is a little more to it, so see if you can figure that out. The next fact is much harder. Phi sub n for every positive integer n is irreducible over rational numbers. The proof of this again uses reduction mod p in a very clever way. Perhaps we'll have time to see that. We saw how a shifting isomorphism can help. We can also scale. For a non-zero scalar c in a field f, I can send x to c times x, and this is an isomorphism. Its inverse sends x to c inverse x. Then g of x is irreducible if and only if g of cx is irreducible. Here are a couple of examples. This polynomial is irreducible, so if I plug in 2x, I get a polynomial that is again irreducible. And if I plug in x divided by 2 and clear the denominators, I again get an irreducible polynomial over q. Note that in both of these cases, Eisenstein's criterion is not directly applicable. Finally, we have the rational root test, which you may have seen in high school. Suppose I have a rational number a by b in its lowest form, and suppose I have an integer polynomial. If a by b is a root of g, then equivalently, g must have this linear factor over rationals. Clearing the denominator, I get this linear factor. But this is a primitive polynomial, so equivalently, g must have this factor over the integers. Under these equivalent conditions, suppose I plug in a by b into this polynomial. Then this expression must be equal to 0 because a by b is a root. Now, clearing the denominator, I get this equation, and then going modulo a and going modulo b, I get that the numerator a must divide the constant term and the denominator b must divide the leading coefficient. In particular, if this is a monic polynomial, then b can only be plus or minus 1. So, I get that if I have a rational root of a monic integer polynomial, then that root must be an integer. The point of these conditions is that if I want to check whether a polynomial has a rational root, then all I have to do is a finite amount of check. This is particularly useful if I want to test irreducibility of a rational polynomial of degree 2 or 3. Because if such a polynomial factors, then it must have a linear factor, and therefore it would need to have a rational root, and then using these conditions I can check for that quite easily.